Now he's one of the world's favourite storytellers, has sold over 300 million books, puts him 21 in the all-time list, about half of J.K. Rowling. And now he's he's not happy with that. Now he's enlisting an art forger and the woman who caught him for his latest crime novel.
Yeah, and we're going to talk to them in just a moment. But at the age of 84, Jeffrey Archer still has such a keen insight into frontline politics, despite giving up his seat in the House of Lords, and his appetite for current affairs as big as ever. So we thought we'd talk to you a little bit before we get to your novel and spot the different stories behind these art forgeries. We thought we'd just ask you about the state of politics right now under this new government. I'll put a particular question about your age to you, Jeffrey. The Winter Fuel Allowance, you don't need the 300 quid.
No, I don't. And I can understand why certain people feel very strongly about it. But when the whole world's got a financial crisis, it's not just Britain. If I tell you, you would never have believed it. Well, you, of all people, would never have believed it. 10 years, the Germans have got a financial crisis. The Italians have got a financial crisis. The French have got... It's not just us.
No,
it's
so
a worldwide
the
problem.
justification is, for someone like you, who lives in a penthouse full of art, the 300 quid, you don't even notice.
Oh, I agree. I quite agree.
So you would defend means testing it?
Oh, certainly. Oh, certainly. I've always been and particularly not just for that, but for the NHS as well. I had an operation 12 years ago for prostate cancer, and a brilliant surgeon took care of me. I should have paid for that.
Right.
Well, so once you start to break that wall there and say the NHS is charged for and you get into means testing, that is a very tricky area. I mean, some would argue you pay through it through the tax system if you're a high-rate tax holder.
Yes, I course you're right on that too, but the NHS is in problem as well, and we've got to sort it out. And people like myself should be paying, or we should be allowed to go to private doctors and pay, so that those who can't afford it...
Pay.
Sorry?
You are allowed to go to a private doctor and pay.
Yes, but it should be welcomed. It shouldn't be something that's considered bad.
And you think that private payment then should go back into the NHS rather than just be
quite happy for that.
To the private doctor's business. Meanwhile, we have this new government. Quite often it comes as a shock to people when they, after years, they've been in opposition and now in government. Do you get that sense from this government?
Well, and in my own day too. Let's kid ourselves. Margaret Thatcher had a very bad start. People now look upon her in a certain way, and they certainly hold her in awe at one level. But in truth, we had a very tough 2 years, and we were told we would be thrown out, we were useless, we should never have had her. People forget that. It was after the Falklands the world changed for her, and she suddenly became the Iron Lady.
And I suppose the lesson from that is, in some ways, what Labour seems to be doing at the moment is we're going to take all the popularity hits while we've got a big majority. We can do it right now. You get it away early enough and try and be popular later in the administration. Is that what you think?
You should always do that in politics. You should, in the opening week, do as much as you can. In the second week, as much as you can. In the first year, try and get everything out of the way, because the election isn't going to be for 5 years. We won't be having this discussion in 5 years' time.
No. They've got some time.
They have.
Right, let's turn to fictional matters and matters of forgery.
Forgery.
In particular, because your new novel is an eye for an eye and tells the extraordinary real-life story of a friendship between a reformed former art forger known as Billy the Brush and the detective who arrested him. They are real people and are now friends, and we're going to talk to them in just a moment, because they're now good friends of yours. But first, let's get Will Godley to tell that story.
William Mumford, nicknamed Billy the Brush, was one of the world's most prolific art forgers. In the 90s, he was painting near-exact versions of Vincent van Gogh and Pablo Picasso's work, passing them off as originals. He fooled auction houses around the globe into accepting over £6 million in fake work, and was eventually jailed for 2 years in 2012 for conspiracy to defraud. But Billy made an unlikely friend in the process. One of the arresting officers, Detective Constable Michelle Roycroft, who was stunned to find hundreds of paintings in Billy's home when it was raided. Despite his immediate arrest, him and Michelle built a rapport, and he even wrote her a thank you letter while behind bars. Billy continued to paint in prison, and since his release, he's living as a reformed man who legitimately recreates art, and they're seen as masterpieces in their own right.
Stunning.
Yes.
Billy, I was just looking. This is the Declaration of Independence that we've got here.
Or is it?
But these are yours. These are your works.
If it was real, Martin, Jefferson only wrote one handwritten copy. It's out there somewhere. He wrote it in Paris. It came to London. It's somewhere. Sotheby's have valued it at £100 million, wow, if you can find it. Billy did one for me.
So, what, I mean, your works of art, they now sell for a decent amount of money in their own right.
Yes.
Knowing that they are forgeries, legal, legit, you're signing them with your own name at the bottom, not the artist's name, aren't you?
I still sign the artist's name just to, so people can impress their neighbours or dinner party guests. But no, I put my signature, my initials, within the painting.
Right.
So only I know where it is, and if there was any trouble, I saw it come up at an auction or something like that, then I'm in the clear, hopefully.
Yes. You're no longer committing a crime.
And
No.
so how much would your works go for now?
I think they go for about £750 to £1,250, something like that. I very rarely sell them. I work with a gallery who sells them. So,
Billy, are any of your criminal forgeries still in circulation and possibly at any of our galleries?
Oh, yes, yeah. I did about 1,000, and I think when Michelle finally, and quite rightly, caught me after 40 years, if you know, I paint one a week, and I was at it for 40 years, and I didn't take any holidays, so...
So they're still out there?
Oh, yeah.
People are still going to galleries and looking up at what they think is a Picasso and actually it is a forgery?
I couldn't really comment on that, but there is a possibility, yeah.
What do you think?
Well, potentially, he's right, because when I made my inquiries to recover the paintings that we had discovered were actually painted by Billy, a lot of people didn't respond, and so those paintings are still out there.
I suppose people don't want to know if they think it's the real thing, if they can sell it as the real thing, if they can believe it's the real thing. You know, it's almost philosophical. Is there a difference?
That was the joy, of course. When I went to Michelle and said, who's been on my team on the William Warwicks for the whole set of books, I need a leading forger. She said, I've arrested one, and he's come out. And that's when I went to him and said, can you do me a Rembrandt? Can you do me a copy of Jacob wrestling with the angel, a preliminary drawing that everyone would think was a Rembrandt? And what did you say?
I don't think I could at the time, but almost everything's possible to a greater or lesser degree, you know. But Rembrandt's a big ask, you know. All the great masters, you shouldn't touch them.
Michelle, we're having fun with this morning. And, you know, no disrespect to Billy, who's now a reformed character and on the straight and honest path. But forgeries cost money.
They do.
And they rip off, you know, public galleries.
Absolutely.
It's a serious... You know, I don't want to get too po-faced about it, but it's a crime.
Well, that's right, and Billy served his time for committing that crime, but it does have an impact upon the art market, definitely.
Yeah. Well, it's fascinating to meet you, and both of you become friends, I know.
Very much so.
And become characters in your... real people in your next novel.
Not only become real people, but in the end, the Declaration of Independence, which Billy did for me, comes up for sale at Sotheby's with Trump and Musk trying to buy it.
Oh, my goodness. Which is a distinct possibility, I feel. Great to see you all. Thank you so much. Really good to see you.
What a talent you are. I mean, it's lovely you're using it for for the right reasons now?
Yes, I sleep better at night.
Yes,
Quite.
good stuff.